Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Back for this Locked On Texas Tech special edition. It's voices from the YouTube comments. Questions, comments, statements, allegations, or accusations of the non-paternity variety only. Please, we enjoy when you submit those on the regular. Thanks to all those who get into the YouTube comments section and mix it up every week. And we got a couple to dive into and consider here today, Chris. And the first one goes back to our conversation about Baron Morton's Twitter message, which was happening last Friday. We talked about it earlier this week on Monday. You saw the video most likely of him chucking it down the field in a very exuberant way to Coy Aiken, and got us to thinking about his schedule this offseason. A little bit advanced, it seems like, and due to some help, obviously, from a great mind there in Jacksonville, Florida. So go back and check out that episode from Monday if you have not seen it. But here is the comment, Chris, and this is from Ronald Shaw, who says, regarding that tweet and that message from Baron Morton, says, my first thought was, do the coaches know he's uncorking the ball like that, and do they approve of it? Second thought was whether they would have rather he keep it a secret until the season started. Some of this resonated with me a little bit, Chris, I guess, but I don't know. I'm kind of skeptical that it was a mystery to them. What do you think about those thoughts?
Yeah, I get why this is asked or thought about aloud. I think that some programs do operate in everything is shrouded in secrecy, and it's not very transparent or open. I think in a lot of other programs, and I would say most programs, there's a lot of transparency now, especially this day and age, with the social media, with the marketing, with just trying to keep the energy level amongst the fans, however you want to phrase that, high. I think that you let people behind the scenes a bit, and all these content creators on campus and working for these departments, they're tasked with let's keep the buzz going. And but this was just Barron doing his thing. But yeah, I thought it was funny that did the coaches even know he was doing it? Yes, they were both standing right there when he threw it.
I just love the term uncorking too. They know he's uncorking the ball like that.
Joey and Zach Kitley were both standing right there when all these throws were made, and I think have been all throughout. There's not anything going on with Baron Morton that is not, from the top on down, that as far as his training or anything like that. Now,
yeah,
I think what they've really tried to preach to him on is like, don't sneak off, in the evenings and go throw with guys. Don't do that. Make sure that what you're doing is when we are here, then that's where it kind of stops. But I don't think that he is. I don't think he's doing anything that they're not aware of. In fact, that's just could be because right now Zach is scripting these throws. I think Joey is well aware of kind of what every practice script looks like on all sides of the ball, special teams included. And aware of the general plan of what's going on day to day. So this was not a secret or, dude, get that off of Twitter. What are you doing? That's not the way this. As far as the secret part, I guess I'd buy into some of that. But I mean, you telling me that you weren't going to show him throwing, or somebody wasn't going to see him throwing even in August? That's just, I think, a bit unrealistic.
And in 1 week against Abilene Christian, I hope you're not having to open it all up and show everything against Abilene Christian. We're going to be in trouble if you do. But you were still going to see the guy to some extent. I was a little more interested, I guess, in the secret part of it. I kind of thought, well, maybe you did, but it would be over within, 24 hours of the first game, I would think. But I don't. I knew because we were talking about it prior to that episode earlier in the week that obviously it wasn't a surprise to Coach McGuire, Coach Kitley that he was doing that. And I think you make a great point in that you still want to keep him on this kind of regimen or whatever that has allowed him to progress but was not was not an unauthorized uncorking, I
No.
guess you'd say.
And as far as secrecy goes, this is always funny to me because some coaches are buttoned up. They keep everything very private. Everything's closed. They are fanatical about not letting media or fans see this or that, or who speaks on behalf of the program, or you can't talk
Yeah,
to my assistant coaches, whatever. Okay. I mean, to the point where I remember coaches are just inherently paranoid. Okay. And you and I know this.
sure.
But back in the day, I remember, and you know how the practice fields are set up over on campus, and it's on one of the corners. There's a bank over there, and I can't remember the name of the bank, but there's a kind of a clock tower across the street from
Yes.
on University, right there on the corner, and it's mainly for looks. I think there's a staircase that goes up there and all that stuff. Lyle Setensich, now I'm going way back here. He was the
Yeah.
defensive coordinator at the time. He had somebody during practice go, "Hey man, there's somebody over there spying on us," and he sent a GA across the street to go look at it. There was nobody over there. Shocker. And I thought, and then you fast forward to like the 22 to 23, 24 range. The Kansas City Chiefs, they're pretty good, right? Wouldn't we agree?
I would.
I think they have open practices. I don't think they care who shows up for practice. So it just goes to
Really?
show you, yeah, it just goes to show you that if you're really good, it doesn't really like.
They can know.
Yeah, I mean, so whether somebody really knows that, and it's a bit of a stretch, but if somebody knows that Baron Morton can throw it 65 yards, or whether they saw that or didn't see it, I don't guess I buy into. If you're good, you can tell somebody, here's what's coming, here's what we're running, good luck. Like Nebraska used to do in Tom Osborne. We're running right. And then you'd load up and Tommy Frazier would run the option and Lawrence Phillips would just be 20 yards down the field, and then they're lining up again and we're running left. And you're like, we're still trying to recover from the running right concept here. That's just, I don't know if I buy too much into that.
That used to always kind of drive me crazy, just the thought of, and this kind of plays into like the tempo conversation as well, because it's all just kind of part of trickeration, whether it's the secrecy or trying to catch them in a tempo moment. And I just always thought, if you can't line up, say hut, and then kick the man's ass across from you, you're not going to trick him into a beating. Because at the end of the day, it's just men trying to move other men off of the spot that they want to be on. And the one that's able to do that best or resist that best is going to win out at the end of the day. I think I told you before, I think we've shared this memory before, but I worked in that bank when it was a brand new building around that time on University. Like I was there the first day it opened up as a teller. And we were eventually told, because I think the upstairs offices were like empty and still waiting to be leased out or whatever at that time. And we were told eventually to not be walking around up there or to not be in the windows there, because Mike Leach had requested that be off limits for unauthorized personnel. And it all goes back to that story that you're referencing there. So it might have just been me like eating a sandwich, trying to hide and get an extra break that Lyle Sinsich thought he saw up there, my big head in the window, and I wasn't paying attention.
I mean, so does the bank say, "Hey, man, we can't hire a Baylor or a TCU or an A&M or a UT grad"?
Yes,
like we can't
I think all banks should say that in Lubbock. As a matter of
well, but it's just unrealistic. It just cracks me up. A football coach has some say so over how a bank uses its office space. Interesting, but again, it's
if you're good enough,
yeah, I guess
if you're Nick Saban, the bank's going to be shut down if you don't do what Coach Saban wants to do.
There's an apartment. Speaking of, you say that there's an apartment complex across the. I think that it looks down into the Alabama practice field, and I think that they have told everybody make sure the blinds are shut and there's nobody can be on the patio during these hours. And I'm thinking, I live here. Like you can't. Funny. I mean, it's just So not that Alabama needed it. They don't need any secrets. They just man up and run right. Good luck.
They're another one of those that we're just going to put our hat on your hat and let's see let's see who survives. And usually it was them. All right. Appreciate the comment there, Ronald. Let's get to the second submission. This one being a question. First, today's episode brought to you by eBay Motors. And eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and keep that ride or die ride on the road, or elevate your car's game to the next level of performance. Superchargers, exhaust kits, LED headlights, roof racks, and accessories of all kinds to fit your style. Whether it's power, speed, or design you're into, eBay Motors has you covered with over 122 million parts to perfectly fit what you need. Just head over to ebay.com/motors now, where you'll always find exactly what you're looking for, and at no risk because of eBay's guaranteed fit. Your part is guaranteed to fit just right every time, or your money back, keeping you burning rubber and not burning cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to keep your ride or die on the road and moving your life forward at ebay.com/motors. eBay guaranteed fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions do apply. And this is in regards to seat temperature, Chris, going into year 3 for Joey McGuire. And it's, I guess, not really something I've considered a whole lot, because the first couple of years have been pretty good. You've gotten back to bowl games. You've done a lot of things well that you weren't really doing previously. Now, you hadn't reinvented the wheel, obviously, and you were a 500 team in the regular season a year ago, but you finished stronger, I think, than you started, which was nice to see. You've won some tighter games more consistently. Obviously, a couple of years ago when you beat UT and OU for the first time in your program's history within the same season, that generates a lot of goodwill. But there's been so much goodwill, and part of that, I think, ties into just Joey McGuire's general attitude. People want to like this guy and want to believe in this guy because of the attitude that he puts forth, that I really hadn't even spent much time considering. And I should add the recruiting successes too. They probably play into this also. But I haven't spent a lot of time considering, job security or seat temperature, like maybe we would have in some previous eras where the first year or two was just kind of so-so. So maybe it was a little hotter under the collar. But the question from Roland Raider 6106 says, since it's year 3, is there any heat on McGuire's seat, or does he still have a lot of slack on the line? And I guess it depends on how you define a lot. But what do you think about this, Chris?
There's a variety of ways to try to answer this. The one aspect is we would all be naive to think there's not some level of pressure, internal, external, all of that. If you don't think everybody over there is very interested in winning, whether it's Joey or Kirby interested in that Joey wins, or just everybody involved, then I think you're just absolutely sadly mistaken. I mean, I've seen some of these people after it doesn't go well on Saturday, and they are, I don't know if the right word is devastated, but they are way down. Okay.
Vexed.
And yes, I mean, they are zapped. And people, it used to fascinate me whenever when I started getting into this back in the 2000s, and you'd see the message boards or you'd see social media, and it's just a dumpster fire, and people are frustrated. It's fire everybody. And you go over there in their existence in the middle of the season on a Tuesday, maybe after a loss, everybody's in a good mood. Everybody's upbeat. Everybody's grinding. They're focused on the next thing. This is how you have to be. And it always used to fascinate me how different it was internally than it was out there and with fans and wherever they could post, or redraidersports.com or wherever they were posting.
Well, and they have to be that. They're trying to lead men to bounce back from disappointment, and moping or saying your hair's on fire is certainly not going to do that. I mean, even if they felt that way when they went home to their wives at the end of the day, you can't do that when you're in the office.
That's right. And you have to move on to the next thing, right? You have to move on to the next game and the next task, and we can't let one game beat us twice, all that kind of stuff, all the cliches. Okay, so now that I've mentioned that part about pressure and I mean, people want him to win. There is a sentiment that where you spent a lot of money here. Everybody understands. I mean, Joey even told me, I don't know, it was probably 6 weeks ago, personally. He said, I took my staff. I mean, this is the head coach telling me this. I took my staff over to see, and it's changed so much since then because this is 6 weeks, 2 months ago, over to see the progress of what the Womble and the South End Zone, what it was going to look like, the magnitude of it. I wanted them to feel the pressure. I want them to feel what we are all tasked with. I purposely am applying pressure to the people that work under me to make them understand we have a big job here. This is I mean, a lot of coaches protect their people from pressure, or they don't want them bogged down in feeling these thoughts. Joey like led them right there to the water and made them drink.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty fascinating. But he wants them to see people are investing in us. People are investing in the product that we represent. We have to do our jobs really, really good every day. Now, is he being a jerk to them every day and making it miserable over there because they feel this pressure? No. Okay, there's two different things there. But I think it's important to know where Joey's coming at it from. Okay, but to answer the question, I don't think there is a hot seat or a warm seat at all from the people that matter, because
Mm-hmm.
the reality is everybody is on the same page. Yes, wins need to be there. And I don't know ultimately when somebody says this isn't good enough, or we need more out of this investment. But when you're recruiting the way that he's recruiting, that's tangible. When you are helping with donors and out there directly involved, I don't know that Joey has many nights off. He is out there in front of a variety of people, whether it's the High School Coaches Association, whether it's somebody's home, whether it's this function, trying to help be a part of putting money where his mouth is. That goes a long way, and that's the job these days. And the fact that you've have a Big 12 winning record in back-to-back years, you've won 2 bowl games. There's a lot that they've done right. Yeah, everybody wishes they would have won more or been this or that, but it's not like this hasn't been a bad hire. This has been a good hire, and it could turn into a great hire, and that's what everybody's hoping on. And Joey holds himself accountable as much as anything. If you think that he was fun to be around in some ways that first month of the year last year, you don't know the guy. You may think you do, but you don't know the guy. Because I mean, he wants to win as much as anybody out there, but I don't think that from the people that matter, he's on some sort of warm or hot seat. But don't misunderstand what I mean by that. Nobody's okay with losing.
Right.
Yeah. Over there, him included. Yeah. Nobody's okay.
Obviously urgency. And it is the third year. So it is worth noting that you do want to really begin to kind of break through to another stratosphere. But I think you first had to get back into the category that this program historically has been in, and that is bowl game or bust at minimum. And you've been back there, and you've strung some wins together, obviously, in that category as well. So I don't know that there's some benchmark this year like, boy, we've got to win X number of games, and there probably never is, because there's always so much context to that. That's just more kind of fan fodder for us to throw a number out there. But you want to be back in a bowl game at minimum. This is where the program has typically been. This is the minimum expectation for the program. Breaking through to a category of competing for hardware would be another step. And if you can do it, all the better. I don't think it's that or bust, obviously, this year. However, if that helps to answer the question. And it goes back to a conversation we had in an earlier episode, I think this week or maybe last week, late last week, talking about the changing dynamics of the conference. With all due respect to the additions that have come and all that have remained, there ain't a UT or an OU on the schedule anymore. Two of the bluest historic blue bloods that there are in college football. And if you are not one of those programs that can begin to take advantage of that and have it show up in your win-loss record, then there is going to be, I think, some cranked up heat eventually. But I don't think any of that is necessarily pressing as we go into 2024. And I think you make a great point in pointing out that when you are generating goodwill because of the all-around job that you are doing, because there is a lot more that goes into it. Now, at the end of the day, it's just about wins and losses. But you're probably giving yourself a little extra grace or a little extra slack on the line. If you're, in the Mike Leach camp, maybe even the Cliff Kingsbury camp to an extent. And you're like, ugh, I really hate all the rest of this. I just want to coach football. Well, then you better be winning a hell of a lot of games. And if you do, they'll probably give you some grace for not doing so much of the other things. But you better be winning and winning often. So a lot of things to consider there. Let us know how you see it, agree or disagree. You can weigh in on the seat temperature conversation there in the YouTube comments. I would appreciate those that do. Thank you to those who submitted those questions and comments, and keep them coming. And we'll get back to it again about a week from now. Chris, appreciate your insight and a little bonus time as always, man. Enjoyed it.
Yes, sir.
Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss an episode. And the best way to help us grow the show is to comment anything below. So go on and kick off your weekend doing just that. For Chris, I'm Casey. Thanks for being out there, and we hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.